And we're now joined by Director of Scouting Craig Button. And Craig, the Flames pick up a massive 2 points to stay very much in the playoff hunt in the West, while the Sens lose once again. Do you think this might be the end of their playoff hopes in the East?
Well, they're playing important games, Kelsey, and I think that, where they find themselves in their developmental progression, that playing these important games here in March are good for their development. This is a team that's got a bright future. Now, that future probably doesn't include the playoffs this year. Despite making a great push, despite, all the hope surrounding the Senators, especially after they traded for Jacob Chychrun, they've just given up 19 goals in 4 games in the first 4 games of this road trip. And, you only get 2 points. That's going to hurt you. And, the upcoming schedule is a real challenge for the Ottawa Senators. And you know what? There can be that immediate disappointment about, playing so well prior to the trade deadline and then kind of running flat here. But I said this at the beginning of the year, and I'll say it now. For the Ottawa Senators to be playing games that get your attention, that make you play at a higher level than you would normally otherwise be if you were clearly out of the playoff spot, I think this is all positive for a very, very young, but a very good and talented Ottawa Senators team. And while the playoff hopes are fading, their future is still very bright, Kelsey.
Yeah, very much so, even if it doesn't include the playoffs this season. Meanwhile, Jonathan Huberdeau, with 2 points in his first game back at left wing since December 27th. Do you like the move from Coach Sutter, or is this simply too little, too late for the Flames?
It's not too little, too late. I mean, here's the biggest challenge for the Calgary Flames. They were missing a right winger. When Matthew Tkachuk left, they traded for Huberdeau and Weegar. And yes, they got a talented player in Jonathan Huberdeau, but they didn't have a right winger. They have Toffoli, and now they lose Tkachuk. So what Darryl Sutter's been trying to do is fill that hole, and you put square pegs in round holes. The other thing he was trying to do with Jonathan Huberdeau was trying to get Jonathan to shoot more. And, when you're coming off that wing with a little bit of ability to move into the middle of the ice, it gives you a better opportunity to shoot. Because Jonathan was showing everybody that he was going to pass. And so I think what Darryl was doing was faced with a twofold challenge. Number one, trying to fill that right wing hole that still hasn't been filled. And number two, trying to get Jonathan to shoot more. So, with a team that certainly had their challenges offensively, you could ask yourself, moving Huberdeau over there, was that what was the best thing? You can look at the numbers. But I think when you take a talented player like Jonathan, you'd say, hey, listen, try to play over here on the right wing because we got a big hole there. I don't think that's on Darryl. And I think that when they acquired Toffoli last year, it filled that hole. But losing Tkachuk just recreated that hole. So Jonathan Huberdeau, has had his challenges this year, but I think that, he's shown glimpses of the high-end skill that he has, and hopefully down the stretch for the Calgary Flames, that will continue to bear out. And more than that, Kelsey, next year when the new contract kicks in is really where it's important for Jonathan to kick back into gear.
Good night for Huberdeau. Good night for the Flames. Now it's about building off of these points. They sit just 5 points back of the Avs for the final wild card spot in the West. They continue their push for the playoffs against the Yotes on Tuesday. Thanks for this, Craig.